Morning from beautiful sunny Port Aransas, Texas. It's Tuesday, November 18th. So it's day 255 of the Port Aransas Reinvention experiment. Let's walk inside and see what's going on today. So it's not a construction site unless you have a generator or a compressor running, so we'll check that box off today. So we're trying out the new dual catcher this morning. Let's see what we do here. Guaranteed to get your steps in. There we go. We always got to give you the beautiful view here. So one of the dilemmas, I guess you could call it, or points of contention even at that could be when you buy these beach homes that were built in the 80s, no matter where you are, most of them were built the same style. Downstairs, because they were at a lower flood level, most of them were used as either just storage space, maybe a garage, carport, but really there was nothing on the first floor level living wise. Second thing that was happening is you always had stairs coming up from the outside to get you to what we called the first level, which was the second level. So that was one of the first decisions we made is, do we want to continue that pattern? Do we want to change it up and go more traditional on the home? That was an easy decision from the spouse. She spoke up very quickly and says, we're going to have an entry from the front. TB in the house. Let's check it out. Our first time through. It's been about 30 days since the last update. We'll see if we can show you some things that are new and improved. So this current visual we're showing right here is the second floor, main living area. Downstairs, the first floor was just a garage in the old orientation. Now it's turned into a game room, man cave. So we're actually on the second level. This balcony was not here. This has been an added addition that I've always been kind of fascinated with, is seeing homes as they get, especially remodels, as they get transformed into new spaces or add-ons or whatever it may be, and you kind of forget like what it even looked like before. And that's why I'm documenting this, because over time you forget about what the house even used to look like if you do a major renovation to it like we're doing here. See this pink area here? That is the only remnant remaining that reminds you of this was originally the outside of the home. This gives you perspective of how much footage we added on to not only get the elevator shaft, which really is not even the largest piece of this, but to get the stairwell, which is going to be a showcase piece. I can't wait to show that off. But this is how much footage we added, which is about 12 feet. And then we have another front porch area here that we added another 5 feet. So you're looking at minimum 17, 18 feet that we came out in the existing home, that after everything is covered up, it'll just be a faded memory. The thing we didn't want to forget that's always forgotten is how much closet space you need for not just storage anymore, for normal storage, traditional storage, but for what you need for audio, video, and those kinds of gadgets. And so we wanted to put that all up front. It would be easy accessible. Usually you don't have to get to it on an everyday basis, but we wanted to be very accessible if we had to ever maintain it and get to those levels, so we did that there. So not a whole lot of action going on in this second level, so we won't spend much time on the update, but I always like to show a little bit of the flow and how it's going to work. But about 90% of the framing to be done on this living area is done inside. We decided to shift back up to the third floor, where that was where the majority of the footage is being added, to concentrate on framing that up properly, getting it properly dried in, and now we're working on the outside siding at that. So not much to look at today, but I still like to show the flow. This is could be definitely a master bedroom. It's currently a guest bedroom. Nice closets. I'm in the master bath, which is a huge master bath. Windows everywhere. You can see here, this was added on. This is existing outside elevation. Just that little cutout takes a little bit of time in the framing, so you can see that's again where our concentration has been. Now that the inside second level, again, living area is totally framed. So as you can see from this update, we have the windows are all installed completely, dried in. We have shifted over to some outside framing and some cosmetic cutouts. We have here little bay windows on each side of the home. If you hear them banging, that means they're working. The framing is absolutely immaculate. Look at this between the windows. Best framing job I've ever seen. A good look at this update. That the ceiling height is pretty much the same right now, but you'll be seeing some character thrown in here We're going to drop this ceiling down a little bit in the kitchen. We possibly might flow it all the way back through the foyer just to change it up, give it some transition, and really define these rooms a little bit more. The challenges in those that have built a second story, remodeled a second story home, third story home, whatever, is that you always have to deal with, at some point in time, you lose your ability to get to the second and third floors, especially if you're not going to use the existing stairway and you're redoing the stairs. Is where do you, or what decision do you make to demo, and when do you make the decision to demo the existing stairs? And so we did that a long time ago to get them out of the way so we could finish, you can see the existing flooring. And so we came up with a creative idea. I'm using my dual capture here, learn how to work with, is we dealt with the temporary stairway, little cubby hole here, to get to the third floor. That'll be floored up and covered up once we get the permanent stairs in, which are, here we go, coming up to here. There you go. Again, not much new to show right now. We have still the framing being supported, but most of the framing, again, I would say upstairs, about 90% of the framing, and I only leave the 10% because there's always something usually, but 90% of the flooring or framing that is completed upstairs. One of the decisions I made early on is not to bring the elevator all the way to the third floor, and sometimes you get credit for things that you really didn't know if it's going to turn out exactly the way you wanted or even better. But beyond the fact I didn't want to be teased with the fact I was getting old and need to have an elevator, I just felt like the cost, the incremental cost of going up to the third floor was just not worth it. But on top of that, again, this is where it gets better, is I don't know where it would have had the room anyway. We canned it early on, so I didn't really study the plans or how the architect was going to get that third floor, get to the third floor. But in looking at the way we finished this project, I don't know where we would have had room to begin with. For those that like to keep score, there's exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 windows on this third level, all symmetrical, with the exception of the big bay window over the master bathtub, shower, closets. What a sight. Beautiful sunset view. So really a great design concept to come up with, dropping you off onto the third level master bedroom and not immediately just be into the main room, to just drop you into a foyer. Normally you would go into the master bedroom and then you'd have your bathrooms off to the side or to the back or to the rear, but you always go into the bedroom first. This is totally opposite. You're coming into a gallery walkway, as I like to explain it, and then we had the bathrooms off to the side even before you get into the master bedroom. I like that tucked back in here. You got your master bath, you have your master closets, and then you come out, have it totally separated, and then come into your main bedroom. So there's no distractions whatsoever. Once you get into the master bedroom, you have nothing but view. And this was the original size of the observation tower, as we call it. That was all it was being used for on the original framework of the home. So when I talk about additional footage, this is where we started additional footage all the way back. So we added about 800 square feet to a second floor existing home. So it took a little engineering, new beams and so forth. So personally, I've lived through the days of the higher is better mentality, going from 10-foot ceilings to 12, and then even sometimes 14. I've kind of gone back to the old school of intimate ceiling heights being where they make sense, especially in bedrooms, where you bring that ceiling height down. We start off at about 8 feet here, and it rises up to about 10 at its peak and back down. Gives it just enough personality, but doesn't give that big squared 12-foot look. Again, keeping it beachy. I think there's an opportunity with these lower ceilings to really work within the framework of where we are, and that's beautiful Port Aransas, of course. Third floor balcony coming outside the master bedroom. You can see how this was designed. I was really happy with the way we redesigned this versus the specs that was on the plans. You don't want water. I've had too much experience with water, especially in commercial spaces, to know that you need to solve it in residential too. And so I didn't like the way the water was being dropped off and not really being pushed all the way out. So we got this overhang that we came out with about 20 inches or so, and even a little bit more. Actually looks like close to 36 inches. on the corners to really get that water off the roof. So as I said a few minutes ago, lots of extensive framing going on outside the home now. All the new siding is going up. We have the roof completely dried in. I really like the way we did this overhang to get that water off the roof onto the roof deck, completely away from, not even close to coming onto this outside porch, and then running on out. And then that overhang is overhanging the second floor balcony, so it completely gets off this side of this portion of the roof onto the ground. Real quick, while I ran off the subcontractors, to mention and give a shout out to Garrett Kipke, our general contractor. He's done a phenomenal job. These guys putting down their tools and leaving in spite of the fact that I told them to keep working. I'll film through it. Just shows the professionalism and respect that they have. I'm out here a lot with these guys, and these framers are A1, but don't call them right now. We need to get finished. So just to let you know, there is another purpose beyond putting out footage on social media. It gives me an opportunity to actually come up here and look at some things that we might need to do, change, or ask questions about. My contractor, Garrett Kipke, and I have such a relationship that he knows I'm going to come down here, and the first thing I'm going to do is want to have about 3 to 4 days by myself, not have any knee-jerk reactions, and just look at what's being done, check the schedule, and then we get together. It's worked out really well. I've been down here now for 4 days, haven't heard a word, haven't texted him, hadn't called him. It's great. He's doing his thing, I'm doing mine. Then we get together, and we have about a 2-hour meeting. We go over everything at once. And one of the things I want to suggest is, and we discussed last time I was here, now as it comes together, I can make these quicker decisions before we finish up, because we're probably going to need to go ahead and finish off this roof deck here. The water's coming in, it's looking really nice here. There you go, let's make some noise, I love it. And then on this part here, we probably need to extend that out so that water doesn't drop down on that second level deck I've been speaking about. Get in your steps, let's get it. So no need to adjust your lighting. We shifted to the afternoon. It's 5:30 p.m. I allowed the subcontractors to finish up for the day and decided to come back with a little less interruption with them. Again, they were being polite to work around my footage, but I wanted to come back at night anyway and check some of the progress on my own like I normally do. What you're seeing here are an existing pylon, the old traditional round. You can always tell the difference. They don't make round anymore. You got the square, or I think you can get the round, but they're twice as much money, something like that. So this is just something you anticipate might happen with all the extra weight that we added to the third floor, something you just couldn't look at over 6 months and see if you needed it before. But after seeing it visually, we just felt like we'd be a little bit more comfortable, adding a little bit more support. This is something you don't want to not splurge and spend a little extra money on. You want to make sure this structure's in place. As I said, inside, the framing is absolutely stack up to any framing I've ever seen. Very comfortable there. And with these new support beams coming across, tying this in together, we're going to feel very, very comfortable with the structure of this 1980s home. Lots of lumber, lots of lumber, lots of scaffolding. The outside of the house is really shaping up with all new siding, insulation. Windows are tied in, as we say, waterproof. It's looking really good. Finish up day 255. Closing comments are, as usual, never fast enough for Behringer. Just get used to it. But overall, very, very, very happy with the progress of the framing. We doubled up on the crew since the last segment. There's a lot going on this house that even the video probably doesn't justify until we just get completely done. As I said earlier, inside the home, we've come outside the original elevation of the home and added these little bay windows, jets out to give it a little personality. This whole section here, from where my finger is all the way to here, is brand new. We came outside the home in order to have a front entry to the home. I've shown this already in some sneak peeks, but it never gets old. This is the stairwell for the custom stairs being built. There's your elevator shaft. Again, a breezeway that will connect from the entry foyer to the downstairs game room, man cave. Deck here connects over to the pool. This will be a nice breezeway with air. Really cool. So this concludes day 255 of the Port Aransas beachfront reinvention experiment. Until next time, keep following, keep watching. Be nice in your comments.